Welcome to the We Sweet podcast. We are plagued by images of perfection. Everywhere we go and in all that we do, we see digital media, television, or we hear streaming platforms glorifying a specific lifestyle for people to buy into. But what about people whose lives don't quite look like that? The media idealizes this perfect image. And I'd say, in reality, most of us don't look like what TV tells us our everyday life looks like. So, what happens when life keeps changing and when you find your footing in one season, yet in another, you're spinning in several different directions? And also, probably feeling a slew of emotions. In this show, we aren't talking about picture perfect. We are talking about pivoting with a vision. Your life can start over again, and you can find purpose. Today, I have with me Tari Donaldson. Tari, you are the founder and CEO of Purpose Chasing Academy and a founder and COO of Extreme Hip Hop. On your journey, you realized post pandemic that many women were unhappy, unhealthy, and not walking fully in their purpose. So, I want us to discuss how life changes can actually propel us into the right direction. Welcome, Tari, and thank you so much for being here on the We Sweet podcast. It's such a joy to have you here. I know it's going to be a good time, and we're going to have a good old party.
Yeah,
But I'm so grateful that you agreed to being here and saying yes. And as the CEO of Purpose Chasing Academy and the COO of Extreme Hip Hop, I have a couple of questions for you, and then we'll talk a little bit more about, your businesses too as we go through. All right, so I want to kick it off with this first question for you.
okay.
As a wife, a mother, and a business owner, can you share your story and how you set the vision for your life and becoming an entrepreneur?
That is a great story. First of all, thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it because I anything women positivity is amazing. So thank you for, creating such a safe space. But actually entrepreneurship fell in my lap. I am from a small country town. I'm one of 8 kids, and so my mother's whole philosophy was to get a job and stay on that job and retire from that job so you never have to be broke. So that is what was engraved in my brain from day one. So I did all that. I was the first one to graduate from high school, not from high school, from to graduate and go to college in my family. And then I was the first one to graduate from college, found a man, got married, went and got that good job with benefits, but I was so unhappy. The job was great. I was working in the nonprofit field, very successful in the standards of America, but I was just so unfulfilled. And what was happening is that I was just becoming depressed after a while. I was just a mom and I was just a wife and I was just doing my job, but I've never really felt any type of fulfillment. And I ended up gaining about, I don't know, 100 or so pounds, where I was about 283 and I'm only 5'3". So
Mhm.
I was diagnosed as morbidly obese, and that actually pushed me into working on something that I could actually control. Right. So
Mhm.
it was a whole bunch of stuff that was going on in my life that was wrong. My marriage, all this other stuff was going on. And fitness was the only thing I could put my hands on that I could control. So by
Yeah.
doing that, I joined a gym, which was Naturally Gifted Fitness Center. And I ran to this crazy guy, Phil, and we just became, he was just somebody who pushed me a lot and helped me get to my goal of getting into the Wonderlands. I don't know if you know what
Mhm.
that means. Big people do. That's getting into the 100s because you was in the 200s. So getting into Wonderland. And I really just started focusing in on my fitness journey. By doing that, it started opening up other avenues in my life. And so I attest to getting your health together really opens up other fields of your life. By me working with him, I started, we started Extreme Hip Hop. So I'm the co-founder of Extreme Hip Hop. And the rest is kind of history. Well, not history because y'all don't know it that well, my history. But with Extreme Hip Hop, I quit my job. I started working there full time. We had to create the actual organization, so I had to have a vision for and a plan in order to make it an actual business and not just a hobby.
Mhm.
So all that kind of aligned in place after I got myself together, after I had a better vision of how I wanted my life to go, that I would
Mhm.
no longer just go off of others' expectations of me, but I would truly live a life where I felt I was being impacted. So that
Mhm.
was a lot, but that's kind of how I got to this point. It was really started by me focusing in on what I could change, which was my health.
Mhm, mhm. Oh, it's a beautiful story. And I think that sometimes we may want to take the short route because we wonder if, am I, saying things and it's resonating, but it does resonate. And it resonates for people that want that authenticity. They want the vulnerability. They want someone to not just say like two or three little quick steps of, I got my life on track. They want the true, real, raw, how are you feeling? How did you do this? What helped you do this? So I think it was necessary, and I'm glad that you were able to share your pathway with us. And I really hope that women take from that you can't really move forward in your goals when you don't feel your best self.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, and you do have to strive to work towards that. And sometimes you can't even plan out your goals. I mean, some women hit us, and I know we didn't talk much about this yet, but some people even hit a point of depression and that holds them back. They don't feel good about how they look. They don't feel good about what's going on, even from an internal standpoint, mentally and all that. So it causes them to kind of drop down into this slump. And you can't think about what you hope to see happen because you're just in that space. You're in that space of just, I don't feel good. I don't feel enough.
Yeah.
So, no, I think it was a beautiful story.
Yeah.
Uh, and so this is my next question for you because I know we're going to kind of get into more of, being able to chart out the life you so desire. So again, you're not a stranger to adapting and growing in seasons of change. How can women pivot when experiencing several roadblocks and are on the verge of that give up that we are kind of talking about?
Yeah. So, awesome question. I think first, as women, we have to change our mindset with the word failing, with the word setback, with those type of terminology. We have
Mm-hmm.
such a negative thought process when it comes to failing. So, real quickly, everything I do, because the foundation to how I um, feel like my life has become what it is now is fitness. I love fitness. If you go on my social media platform, you
Mm-hmm.
would think I was a personal trainer. Just step back and realize that I am not. Okay, you are not going to get that from me, but I love fitness. So one time when I was training, my personal trainer tried to give me more weights, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
women, we need strength training. That's just an extra for y'all. We need strength training. And so he wanted me to add an extra plate. And I'm like, no, because I was comfortable at the weight I was at. I knew I could pump out 12, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I felt that if I tried to go up, I would not be successful. Right. So as
Mm-hmm.
women, we don't want to fail. We don't want people to think that we don't know what we're doing. We don't want to seem weak. So we are going to just stay where we're at. But I
Mm-hmm.
want to challenge women to embrace the failure, to
Mm-hmm.
embrace the setback. We
Mm-hmm.
have to be able to embrace that resilient feel. We have to understand that when we fail, the only way that I was going to build my muscles to be stronger was to take it to failure. That was the only way I was going to get strong enough to be able to lift that 12 pounds, 12 reps more. If I got to a point where it was too hard, then I had to continue to press. So when something happens that doesn't go your way, you have to understand that sometimes you have to fall down to understand how to get back up. So the next
Mm-hmm.
time that you go on that journey, you can say, well, when I went straight, that didn't work out for me. So I'm going to turn this way. So you have to embrace. That's the first thing is to embrace the resilience, to embrace and look at it as you being resilient, not of a setback or even a failure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The other thing is this to seek support. Another thing that, men, they like to say, men don't have the support. Women, we're really good about coming together and catting it up and talk about clothes and talk about hair and
Yeah,
talk about
yeah.
men, but we don't talk about the real stuff. We don't
Mhm,
talk about why we're really afraid to try. We don't talk about why we're insecure to be in rooms sometimes
Mhm.
when we don't have doctor behind our names. We
Mhm.
don't talk about the real. So we have to get into spaces and places where we can seek support and be authentic and be vulnerable. Because
Mhm.
true growth will only happen when we're in a place where we feel like we can be our true authentic self. So the
Mhm.
second thing is really to try to seek that supportive group, that tribe, I like to call it. The third thing is to, we always want to have these tons of goals. We're going to solve, world hunger while looking good, while raising five
Mhm.
kids, while having dinner we're going to do all this stuff. And
Mhm.
that's the way we do with our goals too. We have these big, huge goals and then all these different to do. We have to start breaking down our goals into steps and then those steps down into biteable pieces.
Mhm.
Right? I love the
Mhm.
saying, how can you eat an elephant? And it's one bite at a time. You can eat that elephant, but you got to take your time and eat it. You got to be strategic about how you eat the elephant. You just
Mhm.
can't go in
Mhm.
there and just start here and then go down there. You got to be strategic about how you're going to eat that elephant, right? So when you have a goal, you want to break that goal down. And then that support system is going to help you stay accountable. And
Mhm.
then, even though you may fall, having that resilient mindset, knowing that if this doesn't work, it's not failure, that just didn't work. And I need to try something else. So
Mhm.
those be the three tips that I would have for that woman who is experiencing that. Your mindset, get your supportive tribe that you feel authentic, that I can say I made 10,000 without somebody saying, can I borrow it? Or, I
Mhm.
didn't and I feel like I'm a failure without feeling like somebody's judging you. And then also just make sure that you're breaking down your goals and don't overwhelm yourself. Your
Mhm.
goals should challenge you, but it definitely shouldn't stress you out. If your
Mhm.
goal is
Mhm.
stressing you out, then you need to break that goal down a little bit more until it's not stressing you out, it's just challenging.
Yeah, yeah, these are awesome. So I want to start with the goal, one first, because I actually just had a conversation today about this, so it's fresh on me.
Okay.
And so I think within the goals aspect of it, sometimes people are measuring what they're doing against what somebody else is doing, right?
Mm,
And we know that that's a heavy one.
yeah.
And I am learning just kind of from talking to different women in different spaces in their lives. And all of our lives are very layered for different reasons. So
Yeah.
somebody may have, a spouse, somebody may have children, somebody may be a single mom, somebody may be single, no kids, and somebody may be married but no children. And so it's just very layered. And then they start to put in boxes where they are, what their, friend, sister, cousin, brother, whoever is accomplishing from
Yeah.
an external standpoint.
Yeah.
And then they add on those extra layers of stress you just spoke about because they start to identify with what that person is accomplishing and then feeling like the failure piece. And I think that if you have, only two goals for the year and somebody else has 15, that doesn't mean that you're any less than them, any less successful than them, because their journey is their journey.
That's right.
And yours is yours. So I think that that's a really important one too for women to understand that supportive spaces as well. The other piece that you talked about, supportive spaces also looks like not having someone in competition with you, because there's that. I mean, we don't like to talk about that as women either, but there's that. There's well, I did this, and this.
Right. Right.
And,
Right.
and I want to give some support to the women that are affirming themselves with their close knit circle, because it's nothing wrong with being proud that you've accomplished something and being your own cheerleader. I think it's okay when there's a goal you had for yourself and you're talking to a close confidant and you're saying, girl, I did this. I'm so happy I did this. I checked this box. I had this goal for myself. You have to be able to celebrate your wins.
Absolutely.
So I think that there's nothing wrong with that. So I wanted to give that caveat. But when the space starts to feel competitive and you're starting to kind of tit for tat with somebody, that might not be the right supportive space that you were speaking about. So I think women need to be by those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think those two were really important that you spoke about. I started with goals because, like I said, I had that conversation today and I was telling someone else that I'm seeing a lot of women down on themselves right now because they feel like they have not accomplished something.
Absolutely.
And I think we have that tagline like what is it? You're sitting in the dreams that you prayed for. Appreciate that moment. And
Hmm.
I think that that's so true because you look at what somebody else's goals are and that they're achieving right now. They just opened their new storefront, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
And you don't feel like you've done that and that's a goal for you. But look at everything else you've done and look at what you're trying to accomplish in this season.
Yes.
Because not that that goal can't happen, but in this season, you know, you may have a different goal.
Yeah. And you may be in a different season. I think that is so, I think what you said was just so profound because as women, we are one or a thousand. It's hard for us to be in the middle, and that's where our mental has to stay intact. We always
Yeah.
have to do internal checks because
Mhm.
what happened is you're in this community of women, and because you become insecure about where you are, now you're looking at it as that other woman bragging. Where she's
Mhm.
just doing
Yep.
what you've been doing. This is what
Yep.
we've been doing because you are feeling insecure. So that's where it's so important to have frequent check-ins with yourself. How am
Mhm.
I feeling? Do I feel overwhelmed? Do I feel like I'm not where I'm supposed to be? Why do I
Mhm.
feel this way? How can I change it? And
Mhm.
competition, I'm a sports girl. And I feel like sometimes this whole new everybody gets a trophy has, I think, messed up our kids. I think that you need to learn how to earn things and to understand that it's not everybody's season at the same time. It's
Mhm.
so important to understand that my season, I just opened up the store, the example you use, but how many times did I fail before I opened the store? You
Mhm.
see me at my
Right.
spring season. You didn't see my 5 back-to-back winter seasons. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Right.
So it's twofolds. We need to have those women that are having these winter season express that it's not
Mhm.
as easy as people are trying to make it. So that
Mhm.
this next woman who's coming along don't feel like, oh, I'm a failure because last week she just said she wanted to open a store. And then this week she got it. She didn't
Yeah.
tell about how she tried, a year
Mhm.
ago, how she did open a store a year ago and it failed. She didn't tell that part. So that's where you have this social media where people just post all the good stuff and never post the bad stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have to have both folks. We need to have older women, more seasoned women share
Mhm.
with the ones that are coming up in every season because we all have the
Mhm.
seasons. And it's not always after the winter you're going to get the spring, you're going to get the harvest. No, sometimes it's winter, 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 fall,
Mhm. Mhm.
winter, and then the spring. You just don't
Yeah.
know. So that's why I'm always like, when people talk to me about weight loss, I've been several sizes several times, and I don't look at it as weight loss. I look at it as a
Mhm.
healthy lifestyle because it's just unrealistic to think I'm going to be the exact same size all the time. You
Yeah.
have seasons. And so I think it's just what you said is so important because you have to, those spaces could be fine. They could become toxic depending
Mhm.
on leadership of the group. Um, but it's so important that you always do an internal check on you and why does her success make you uncomfortable?
Right.
Because
Right.
it really
Right.
shouldn't. Why is it
Right.
making me uncomfortable? Is
Yeah.
it more because I'm feeling insecure about where I'm at? And
Mhm.
so it's two folks. It's two folks.
Yeah. Well, that last one, we could run a mile on that last one. I want to try to stay on track and respect time, but we could run a lap or two on that last one.
Yeah.
And there's so many women who feel that and are ashamed to admit that I don't want to hear about this. She keeps talking about this. I don't know why she keep going on and on. When the reality is what you just said, there's something in you right now that you don't feel fulfilled in this space. And you may have several reasons for that you have not disclosed. So you're listening to someone that may be in your inner circle share, and the more they share, the more you just tense up inside.
Just eating you.
But instead of tensing up, that's the moment to be vulnerable.
Mhm.
That's the moment to say, hey, Tari, you know what? I'm hearing you say all this, and girl, I'm just down on myself. And
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you why I'm down on myself. So maybe you can share with me whenever you felt like this. Am I crazy? Is it just me? Like, be vulnerable. Say, this is what I'm feeling. I don't want to take away from your moment. I'm proud of you. I'm admiring where you are right now because I aim to be there. But if I can be real with you, sis, I'm not listening to this and trying to be negative towards what you're celebrating, but
Yeah.
I'm listening to this and I'm not feeling like I'm where I need to be. So
Absolutely.
what can you pour in my cup right now? And
Yes.
so, like I said, we could run a mile on that.
We could, but we need more conversations like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We need people to be vulnerable on both sides of the table, like you said. It
Absolutely.
can't just be, expecting the more seasoned person and experienced person to give all of their stories, but then you don't even want to be vulnerable and say, "Hey, I'm struggling in this space."
Absolutely.
So, you were so spot on. I'm going to move on because I could just, praise jump on that one. But no, I love it. I love it. So here's my next one for you. Okay, so coming into just the conversation a little bit more with talking about women who are at that give up space and needing hope. Life is a constant journey of discovery and leaning into our purpose. So oftentimes there's a feeling of inadequacy, and we're talking about that, or feeling overwhelmed with the calling on your life. So, how can women navigate those feelings, especially those women who may be lacking a supportive network?
These some good questions, girly. Yes. Um, really to navigate the feelings of inadequacy and just
Mhm,
being overwhelmed, especially for women who may
mhm,
lack that supportive network. Um,
mhm,
I'm gonna give you three things that I would suggest for them. Really two. The first one is cultivate that self-compassion. Recognize that that feeling of overwhelm or inadequate at times is a universal human experience. We all go through that at some point, right? We all do. And I think sometimes we feel alone and we feel like we have to do it alone. And
mhm,
we need to realize that to have some compassion, we need to practice self-compassion and giving ourselves grace, acknowledging what you're feeling without the judgment and treating yourself with the same kindness that you would offer a friend in that similar situation.
yeah,
We are so much harder on ourselves than we would ever be. The things that we say to ourselves is absolutely like we would fight somebody if you heard them say that to your friend. But we
mhm,
will say those same things to ourselves. And so we have to learn how to give ourselves grace and
mhm,
practice and cultivate a habit of self compassion, not self pity, but self compassion. So that would be the first thing that I would say to someone, especially if you don't have that support system. The
mhm,
second one is to really develop a personal coping strategy. Start to build like a toolkit of ways to do some personal coping strategies, kind of like what I talked about, how to check yourself in the moment, learn
mhm,
how to manage your stress and your anxiety. And I'm a firm believer in seeking therapy. I'm not a therapist, but
mhm,
we need to have somebody that is not that won't sugarcoat stuff, that will allow us to talk it out. We need to figure out ways that we can manage that stress and that anxiety.
mhm,
And you can just some tips that I would give people is meditation, regular physical activity. People don't even know how close they was to getting it from me if I hadn't went to the gym. They don't
mhm,
even know how close I would have been to popping off. But
mhm,
that's one of my coping strategies is I make sure before I get my day started, I go and put and leave everything at the gym. And then engaging in the hobbies that you enjoy. You got to figure out some kind of ways to develop some personal coping strategies.
mhm,
And the practices can, help with your emotional, resilience and provide a sense of control and also a sense of fulfillment. Cultivating that self compassion,
mhm,
developing some coping strategies, and then the third one is really, like I said before, is that support system and try to expand it.
mhm,
Try to actively seek out support groups, professional networking groups. Go online and find different forums that you can
mhm,
connect with others to share similar goals and challenges. If you don't feel comfortable talking to your friend about it, Go find some. I mean, the internet has made our world so much smaller that I know anything that you're feeling, you can find a group that is dedicated to what you're dealing with right now. Find some different, make it a challenge to go out and find people that have similar, struggles and challenges that you do and build connections that can provide some more emotional support, advice, encouragement that might even later on lead to some mentorship activities. Really, I try to seek out different organizations that I'm kind of scared to, just
Hmm.
to expand my network, just to find other type of viewpoints. I may not stay at that group, but it will allow me to start to to cultivate my thought process of looking at things from different perspectives.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
actively find conferences that everybody don't look like me. I will
Hmm.
go to those conferences just to be in spaces with people that's different than me. So I try to expand my network all the time. So those would be, I hope I answered that question. Those would be three things
Oh
that I
no,
would
yeah,
say.
no, no, no. Those were awesome. Those are
Good,
absolutely
good.
awesome. Yeah, I would say mic drop, but those were all so great. I'm thinking too of just like even myself in some of the ones you're talking through, and I practice therapy, and I think it's so awesome, and it's such a protected space, and it is a unbiased space.
Yes.
So I a huge advocate for that. And I was thinking too about the hobbies because today was a day. Today was a day. So I started painting a bench.
Okay.
And I said, okay, like this is the release. And so I painted the bench and I had my music on and I got lost in painting a bench, DIY. And it helped. So I'm just,
Calm you down and with all
mhm.
of that.
So
Okay.
I'm listening to it and I'm like, okay, what do I have and what do I need to add on? What am I not doing? Working out. Working out. So that's that. I would say that that's definitely one that I definitely need to work on.
Yeah.
But I love these for the ladies. And I think learning how to manage our emotions, I think particularly for the younger generation, I'm just going to say it. I know that it's going to be hard to hear for many of the listeners, but the younger generation, are much different from the generation before. And I'm going to even say before me too,
Yeah.
with what they can handle. Now there's this whole thing called gentle parenting.
Yeah. My daughter tried to tell me that with our cat. She was like, just no, he didn't get. I'm hitting his nose. Like, get off the thing.
So I do think that the emotion management piece is huge, 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 huge. And even the newer young adult, whether the Gen Z, I definitely think that the emotion management piece is crucial. So I'm really happy that you mentioned that one in learning your coping skills. What are your coping skills? Because we're seeing that a lot too. But the older generation that came before us, and then the generation that has even come after mine is such a vast difference with what they carry and how they express what they carry. And so I definitely love that one. I won't say too much because I don't want to mess up what you said, but I like that.
Ah,
I like that. It was great. So those were some really good ones. And I really think that one other thing that some of the younger women, because I know that's a huge group that I kind of cater to, need to do, back to something you said earlier, is really streamline how they're tackling those goals. I think you gave the picture of the elephant. And I think of that here in them not having that supportive network
mm,
is looking what's on your plate, what you're trying to do.
mm,
Because the pressure that you put on, there's seasons that you mentioned earlier, and there's seasons to do certain things.
yeah,
And God willing, you live a wonderful long life. There's purpose in getting to 40. There's purpose in getting to 50. There's purpose in 60, 70, and beyond. So I think just managing what's on your plate, not saying we shouldn't strive for more, but allow this season to produce what it's supposed to produce for you.
so,
Yeah. So these were great, and I love the supportive networks. I think that is a beautiful thing that we have now, and I think too the world of media, like even us being here right now.
yeah,
So I definitely think you can't sit around and wait for things to be done. You have to go out there and go get it, and you have to look for what you need.
You do. And it's okay that I was just talking to my daughter because, she's lived a life that was different than how I grew up. I tried to tell her, I was like, yeah, kids don't, going out the country. She was like, Mom, you took me out the country when I was 9. And I purposely tried to establish something where my kids feel like they were cultural.
Hmm.
But I told her, I said, you got to get the dog fight in you. Y'all
Yeah.
have to, everything is not going to be given to you. This generation right now, I I am hopeful for them. They're so much smarter. If you're listening, y'all are so much smarter than we
Mhm.
were. Y'all can figure stuff out like nobody's business. But that's also a hindrance because they are right now kids. Like they want it right now. But it's there's a beauty
Mhm.
in a process. And I
Mhm.
don't know how much time I got, but I want people to I want when you're thinking about going through different things to think about the life of a butterfly. Man came to this, he saw a cocoon sitting on a tree and he saw, was trying to struggle to get out of the cocoon. And so him being a nice man wanted to help the butterfly get out, the caterpillar got that out of that cocoon, and he opened it up and broke it and released the butterfly too early. And what happened is that butterfly never was able to fly
Mhm.
because there is a reason why the caterpillar has to go into that cocoon. It's a reason why they have to struggle. It's in order to make their wings strong enough in order to fly. So,
Mhm.
with someone helping you so much, giving you stuff all the time, never allowing you to strengthen your wings, you
Yeah.
can never be strong enough to fly. Sometimes you have to struggle in order to get to your position where you can actually fly and be successful and do what it is that you're supposed to do. Sometimes you
Mhm.
have to do that struggle. Sometimes you have to eat ramen noodles for a year if you want that car that's not breaking down every time you stop.
Right.
You
Right.
have to go through the struggle in order to even appreciate the flight. If
Mm.
all the times you get stuff handed to you all the time, how are you going to really appreciate when you earn something,
Mhm.
when you achieve something? You have to go through the struggles.
Mhm.
I just want this new generation to know that you can give me something. We are not so wise that we shouldn't be in the same networking community, that we
Mhm.
should not be listening to one another. There's so much I can learn from you and you can learn from me. But the main thing is that we have to come together and have these real conversations about
Mhm.
what I lack and what I can give and what you lack and what you can give so that we can come together and be the best that we can be. And
Yeah.
so that you can truly live in your purpose and your
Yeah.
assignment. Because
Yeah.
these kids can do a lot of stuff. Just because you can do a lot of stuff and even become good at stuff does not mean it's your actual assignment.
Yeah, yeah. And there's just a lot of crucial steps that you miss, a
Yeah,
lot of developmental pieces. And it's not just the technical skill, it's
yeah,
a lot of developmental pieces that other people can teach you
yeah,
to prepare you not to fall apart when
yeah.
something doesn't go your way. So this has been so amazing, Tari. It really has. And I hope that we can keep having these conversations. Love
Absolutely.
to have you back. But to wrap us on up, I do want to just give you the chance to just share a little bit more too about your businesses, any upcoming things you want to share with the ladies, anywhere you want them to plug in and connect with you. Drop all your stuff right here.
All my stuff, man. So I am at heart, I'm a speaker and I'm a coach. So I do help aspiring entrepreneurs and women to cultivate to figure out their vision, cultivate it, create those steps in order to be successful. And I do 4 different areas: your business, your personal life, your health, and your relationships. So I feel like you have to have harmony. I don't like to use the word balance because nothing balances. Something's
Mm-hmm.
always, but as long as it's not off too much, then you're good. It needs to be in harmony. And so
Mm-hmm.
I work with women in order to do that and to ultimately become an entrepreneur and run their business successfully.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I do that. They can find me on all social media platforms, www.TareeDonaldson. It looks like Terry. I know my mama was trying to be fancy, but it is Teree, and that's TeRDonelson. That's on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You can find me on all social LinkedIn social media platforms. So I would love to if that's something that you want, you desire, is to get your vision together and then to create a business where you can scale up. Let's get together and do some things, make some things happen. And what's going on in our business right now? Extreme hip hop is awesome. We're having our 1 year anniversary here in Cleveland, Ohio. We're gonna have 22 artists come out and
Awesome.
step and exercise. So it should be fun in June 28th. So a lot of good things happen. So just follow us. You never know where I'm gonna pop up.
Yes, yes. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Tari, for your time. Thank you for sharing with the ladies and dropping all your nuggets of wisdom. Again, would love to have you back in the suites and appreciate you for being here. And we will have you tagged so the ladies can get to you quite quickly.
Okay. Enjoyed it. It's always nice to talk to you, and I really enjoyed it. And I love what you're doing, so keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for following the We Sweet podcast. Don't forget to follow me on Insta at Dr. Dequies L. It's in the podcast bio. See you ladies soon.